help. I need somebody, help. Not just anybody, help. You know I need someone, help.
I tried it
You still struggle with the right hand.
because it feels unnatural.
Man, our homage to the Beatles and then the slow poll again by Phil.
We're gonna get demonetized.
Rocky Dog got mad at me about it.
Oh,
was
my
attacked.
God, so good. Hey, there's Koopa the Dungeon Dog. It's time for another episode of Bars and Barrels. Tonight, we're going to be chatting a little bit.
He has been sleeping over there the whole time.
When he chooses then to get up, right? Tonight, we're going to be talking about the help action, and then also some other ways that you can help during combat and things like that. So, guys, how are we doing tonight? Are you ready to help me out?
We'll give it our best shot. I'm not sure that I'm proficient in the help that you
I don't
need.
know why we're emphasizing random words. It's like, Brett, what are your thoughts?
On help?
No.
He did the downshift. We were doing the upshift.
I feel like it means something different when you say it that way.
Oh no.
It's like I intuitively put a question mark at the end of that.
Help?
Help. Help. Help.
Did you?
Okay, so the help
Now
action.
that Ross is dying.
Yeah.
Oh my God, I gotta like fan myself up.
It was the singing.
What fill us in a little fill us in. Well, I was
Hey,
like doo-doo
last
in the
time
last
doo-doo, now we
episode.
got Phil.
Fill.
He'll fail.
We're off to a great start here. Hope everybody is super entertained. This is gonna be great. But
The unfortunate part is not everyone else is as primed as we are, so that's
No.
their loss.
so we should have started this episode with a disclaimer. It's like a 2-beer minimum for this one.
It's true.
So Phil, would you please fill us in a little bit on what the help action is?
Ross, allow me to fill you in.
Thank you.
When we take the help action, we can do a couple things, right? So, first of all, one thing to know about help, it is an action, right? So when we're talking action economy, in your turn, if you're in combat, one of your action choices could be to attack, or there are lots of choices, right? But help is one of those actions. So this would be basically replacing an option to attack if you're in combat. Just want to point that out. You can do two things here. Basically, you can assist an ally.
I'd like to see how that works.
There's no E in that word. Assist an ally with an ability check, or to assist on an attack roll. So when it comes to that ability check, you can only help someone if you are proficient with the skill or the tool that they're making their ability check with. I can't help someone with a medicine check if I'm not proficient with the medicine skill.
That makes sense because you wouldn't be able to help somebody if you didn't know what the hell you were doing.
It does make sense. And in 2024, they have specifically stated that in the 2014 rule book. In the 2014 rules, if you look back to those, it actually doesn't specify that, but it was kind of an unwritten rule. So they have set it in stone in the 2024 rule book. It is written out. You have to be proficient.
So if I'm a new player, why would I do this when I could just do the action myself?
That's a great question, Brett.
Well, I think it's going to be one of those situations where it's like, you know, you're facing the boss or something like that, and you want to convince them or something. Two players with proficiency in persuasion or something like you don't need to be proficient in it, but for me to help you with that, I would need to be proficient in helping you persuade somebody to, I don't know, not attack, get the hell out, something. I don't know.
I'm thinking that like in a medicine check kind of scenario, well, you're right though, if you're proficient, to be quite frank, I wouldn't help. I would just do it myself. That is what I would do.
If you're trying
That's
to
the rogue in him.
You're
if you're
right.
trying to if you're doing a rogue and if you're trying to lockpick a safe, maybe you have 2 ears up to the lockpicking and you're trying to hear the tumblers.
I do like that. Or like so one of the things, the other side of this is an attack roll, and I think that's maybe where I feel like I'm more helpful is as a distraction, right? Or if the bard's
Sure,
going to get up
yeah.
there and
Sure.
do a performance, whatever check, and I'm going to assist them because I'm distracting the crowd for how terrible of a job the bard is doing up on stage, something like that is probably where maybe Phil as a player would more excel.
That low charisma is shining through right now.
I would say the help assisting on an ability check is more beneficial outside of combat.
Hmm.
Yes.
Like if
Absolutely.
you're trying to lockpick, if you're trying to lift the heavy object, and more than one person can assist with picking up the heavy thing, and it doesn't just have to be the barbarian.
Sure. Yeah. So this is a bit of a deep cut, so brace yourselves. But for those of you that have seen Ghostbusters, in the first Ghostbusters movie, when they're trying to convince the mayor, like, let us out of jail so we can help you, blah blah blah. When Ray Stantz is like, this is like real like biblical stuff, and then Pete Venkman comes in behind him. He's like, yeah, dogs and cats liking each other, something something something. It's like helping with the argument kind of thing. That's what I
The
think.
hype man.
The hype man. Yes, somebody's making
right.
the argument, somebody's hyping it up.
Yeah.
Sure.
And one of the things I don't think I necessarily called out, right? So what happens, right? You help someone. What does that grant them? It grants them advantage on making that ability check because I don't necessarily think that I called that out, right?
And advantage is equivalent to like a +5, I think it is.
Yeah.
So if you just take any old roll and on average add 5 to it, that's what you would be getting with having advantage on average.
Yeah. It would have been interesting to see in one of the last sessions that we played as a group how someone could have potentially tried to help Ross's character persuade these cultists. And as the DM, personally, I would have loved to see that happen because then we could have seen how horribly wrong that probably could have ended up.
I was dropping dimes, Phil.
Depending
so-
on who helped you. So I would have loved the opportunity for that to happen. But the other side, the flip side, right, is assisting in an attack roll, which can be super advantageous too. So basically, you can use your action to distract an enemy. They do have to be within 5 foot of you, but that would grant advantage on the next attack roll made against them by one of your allies, as long as it happened before your next turn.
You know, I thought of it a perfect way to use this in an attack is when we were in our Descent to Avernus campaign, and I was going up against everything that had resistance or immunity to my damage types. If I couldn't do damage to an opponent, but I could distract them, that could be really powerful.
Oh, absolutely.
Mhm.
Makes you super
Sure.
effective.
Yeah, and then it gives like Ross or somebody coming in with radiant damage a clear shot.
Well, yeah, if you have advantage, you have a higher chance of rolling an at 20 on that critting. Well, and especially as Paladin, depending what you take. I mean,
Right.
yeah, you could do buco damage.
Totally. I'm just trying to think of a situation. So it's like you have to be within 5 feet of an enemy to do this.
Yes.
It's
That's a pretty severe limitation on this.
correct. So it's like odds are if we're within 5 feet of an enemy, especially if this is close quarters, we probably already have the enemy flanked. Given flanking's an optional rule, so it's not like everybody does that. But the way our group tends to play is we do battle strategy that way. If we know we need to take somebody down, we try to flank as quickly as we can to get advantage on those. So if you have them flanked,
You're already advantaged.
You don't need to then help somebody.
Correct. But this doesn't say that your opponent has to make your ally has to make a melee attack against them. They could make a ranged attack against that enemy with advantage.
So if but if it's a ranged attack within 5 feet, they have disadvantage, and you're giving them advantage.
No,
Wouldn't
no,
that
no.
just be a normal roll? Right?
But I mean, you can use your help action to distract the target. Your rogue is hidden somewhere in the forest.
Sure. Okay.
They suddenly have advantage, which means they can
Right.
use sneak attack.
Because the help
because they
has to
have
be within
advantage.
5 feet, but not where the attack's coming from. I get
Yeah.
you. Okay.
That's where it comes into play. That's
Okay.
the difference,
That's-
right? As far as
that
flank.
makes sense.
But
That would actually be a very creative use of that, because then you could have somebody flanked be getting advantage on your melee attacks. Help that way your ranged players are also getting the advantage of having advantage on those attacks.
well, it's a rogue's dream because if they have advantage, they can sneak attack. So
Sure.
if you can distract the enemy and then they can attack,
This is an area that it would be interesting to game out, and I'm sure Wizards of the Coast has done this. The balance between doing a help action or attacking on your own.
I agree. It's hard. It feels like a sacrifice to help, unless you have, like to Brett's point, where you don't necessarily have an effective attack action in the particular encounter that you're in or the particular combat. Then I think help action makes sense. But it's really hard to sacrifice an attack action to take the help.
Yeah, because you yourself could be rolling extra damage.
Yep.
That you're not really gaining that much.
And it could come into style of play too. I mean,
yeah, storyline.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it would be interesting to play a character that maybe doesn't like combat, right? So even when you're in combat situations, instead of attacking and dealing damage, you're helping and buffing and disengaging and all of those types of things instead. It would be an interesting character to play.
So I think that brings up a great segue into what we should talk about next. It's like, what are other ways you can help in combat that is not using the help action?
You can do a lot of different things. You don't have to just attack. You can heal. You can do battlefield control. You can buff your allies. You can give a nerf to your opponents. Like you can, there's certain spells that you can cast that take away damage vulnerability or damage immunity for the bad guy. And so then you can open up some of those attacks that weren't hitting previously could start hitting.
I think we brought up one earlier too. Like if you're, one of your allies is already engaged in combat, all you have to do is flank, and you can grant your ally advantage. Right? I mean, that's an easy thing to do. It's just movement. The only thing that's stuck in my head is dodge, dip, dive, duck, and dodge from Dodgeball, and those aren't actual actions, but that's stuck there, and I can't
You're
get
the
rid of
right
that right
idea,
now.
though.
So, like, what can we do?
Brett brought up buffing, nerfing. There are spells out there that would really help you do that. So, like, paladins have like warding spells or sanctuary spells that could force enemies away from you. That could force them to do certain things that you don't want them to do, and then you can then turn around and also attack with spell potentially. So there are different options there.
Or if you cast something like Entangle and it maybe is able to grab the hands of the bad guy, they wouldn't be able to use their synaptic. Is that the right one? Components.
Somatic.
Somatic components. Or casting silence.
Mm-hmm.
And have a zone of silence around the bad guy, and they can't use any verbal components.
It's one of my favorites. I love silence.
Like that, if you're going up against a wizard, good luck. They can't do a lot outside of that.
Totally.
They're going to have to move to get out of that zone.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the other things, I know we've kind of been hitting on spells too, but really any way that you can kind of make things challenging for your opponent is helpful to the rest of your party. Whether that's taking the ground out from underneath them, maybe it's all the dodgeball that's stuck in my head, but like pantsing someone, to see what your DM does with that, right? Like, do they trip? Do they have to make a dex save? And then, hey, maybe they're prone, right? You can do dumb shit and still like end up helping your party. So one of that, I guess for me, like maybe that's the flavor of the help action almost, right? So sure, I'm going to help the bard with his performance check. What does that look like? Well, as a rogue, for me, that's probably me causing a distraction. Whereas, maybe if I'm a sorcerer, maybe I can cast some minor illusion or, something that can enhance the performance. So I think it opens the door to add a little role play flavor kind of in there as well, using that help action.
Yeah, this is help action is one that's really tied to. It's a lot more powerful for some of the non-melee heavy damage dealing classes, like your bards, your sorcerer, or maybe sorcerer, clerics, some of those other types of classes that aren't going to be in the fray all the time. You can add a lot more substance and dynamics to your role playing if you're throwing some of these crazy loopholes at your DM.
Yeah, I agree. I actually have nothing to add to what you guys said. I think you wrapped that up nice and neat with a beautiful bow. Wow,
Rubber stamp.
Let's not get too big headed over here, Phil. Well, that's going to do it for this episode of Bards and Barrels. You can listen to past episodes of the show anywhere podcasts can be found. You can also follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube at Bards and Barrels. We'll see you soon.